All right, welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this talk and choosing to spend your Thursday morning with us. Let's see what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to be presenting me, Mátyás Manninger. I work for Devo Team G Cloud as a cloud engineer and a data engineer. I've been working with Google Cloud Technologies for more than 6 years now. And I am really happy to be here and spread some of the knowledge that I gathered throughout those years. And I have my colleague here with me.
Hey, thank you, Matthias. Good morning, all. My name is Sijohn. I'm also a colleague. I'm working with the Devo team for the last 2 years. And I'm working with mostly on the infra as well as on the app development side. I work as a cloud architect and work with multiple customers in various domains. So let's get started.
Yeah. Today we're going to be going on a journey. So imagine the worst nightmare of any system administrator. You wake up on Monday morning and the company website is gone. It's just nowhere to be found. No CI/CD pipeline, nothing. You have nothing. And you have to get it back online, and you have 1 week to do so. So of course, first you panic, and then you go into work, and you start work every day. So this is your chance to start over and do everything right, and that's exactly what we are going to do. So we will look at 6 different website deployments for every day of the week. And it might feel like those call centers when you call in and they go like, if you are here for your card details, press 1. If you're here for this, and you're going in your mind like, that doesn't really match. And number 2, that doesn't really match. But maybe it's the closest for now. And but at the end we will do a recap of all the technologies that we mentioned. So don't worry if it's if you get a bit lost during the presentation. Of course, a disclaimer, there are some personal opinions appearing in the talk, so feel free to challenge me on that at the end. And I think, so who is this talk for, or what do I expect you guys to come here for? So first of all, you care about deploying websites on Google Cloud. That is one thing. I think if you are here for this, then it's going to be interesting for you, and we will have all the code available online. You will have a nice QR code that you can scan that takes you to the GitHub for the whole talk. And I think you will take actionable insights and code pieces that you can use in your work already tomorrow. So that's one of my hopes. And then the other type of person is, of course, catastrophe tourism. So if you read the description of the talk, you know that we will do 6 live demos in the given time, which is then 40 minutes now. So I don't know, put your hands up if you're just here to see something go wrong. All right, thank you very much. It's interesting going into the talk and hoping that I will disappoint the audience, but it is what it is. Yep, and so let's go into Monday. So you go into work on Monday, and you just want to get something, at least like a static web page, to show when people hit your domain. So for this, the first and probably the simplest hosting solution is just Google Cloud Storage. So it's a blob storage where you can just upload files. So you can upload anything you like, PDFs, binaries, videos, really anything. It can be large, it can be many. Google Cloud Storage can eat it, basically. And if you set the availability of the files public, then those can be reached through a URL. But by default, that URL is Google branded, Google Cloud Storage .something / and then a weird name. So if you want to have your website to your domain, obviously, then you need to add load balancers. That is also readily available for you in the cloud. But at least that's also just a very simple configuration to point the load balancer and associate your domain with the objects in the cloud storage. You can also do some other things in there with the load balancer and do some smart things like have different buckets in different regions, and then the load balancer can route the traffic to the one closest to the user. So if you have users all around the globe, then you can optimize the loading time of your website. So there are many options that Google Cloud Storage offers you, and I will let Sijohn demonstrate that for you.
Oof. Now is the risky part. So let's get into some code. Just before that, let me introduce, I'm running all these things fully in cloud. So we are using something called a Cloud Workstation in Google Cloud. So this IDE may be looking familiar for you, which is similar to VS Code. This is the Google's version of the VS Code. They have taken VS Code and then put it in the code OSS. So we basically launch this workstation from this place in the Google Cloud Console, and I get this almost desktop feel looking in the Chrome browser. Oof. So let's start with the cloud storage. So like he mentioned, we will be basically using different deployment techniques. First, we will deploy a simple static page. And then in this static page, what we are going to do is that we will use Terraform to deploy this index.html file into the cloud storage bucket. So let's initiate the deployment, and then I will show you what we are doing actually. So this is my
Zoom in.
Make it zoomer. Okay. Is it better? All right. Yeah. So this is my index.html. So let's deploy it. Okay. To show that it is really live. Here we go. And I will initiate my deploy using TF is my alias. So Terraform apply. And while it is deploying, okay, I need to do S. While it is deploying, I will quickly show what we are doing. So this is my, this is my Terraform file. We are creating a storage bucket in the name of, this is the bucket name from a variable. And then we are pushing an index.html file into the bucket. And in this index.html is nothing we will see in the browser what it got deployed. It is putting a Devo team logo. We are from Devo team. And then, like what mentioned by Mátyás, to make it public, so what we are doing is that all users in the world, so no authentication, nothing, so it's a public website, we will give reader permission. And also, if you look at the terminal, this got deployed, and it outputted a URL, which is the storage, this one. Oof. So this is the website which got deployed. And if you look at the cloud storage bucket, the bucket name we gave was Genesis of Websites Øredev demo, and this is the index.html which got deployed, and then the Devo team logo, and then a 404 error message. So basically, this is what the warning. Okay, let me zoom it a bit more. Yeah, so this means that these files are public to internet. By default, it is not public, but because we made it like all users readers, so it is public to internet. And the warning sign is because Google is giving a caution to the owners that, okay, this is public to internet, beware. But it's only reader access. All right.
Yeah. So some of the advantages of this deployment strategy or this hosting solution is that it's, of course, easy to set up. As you could see, it's just pushing your index.html file to a cloud storage bucket. That means that it's also very easy to automate this process, and this is also very cost efficient. So there is no compute attached to this solution, so that's fairly straightforward and very affordable pricing. Of course, the downside is that you can only host static content this way, so no backend logic happens. You can, of course, have JavaScript, and you can do some things with the load balancer, like setting up the 404 page if someone goes to a URL that is not configured in the load balancer. But that's kind of it. And it's hard to use deployment strategies like canary release or those kind of things. So if you really want to test your website before you push it, it might not be the best solution.
All right.
Yeah. Then you're happy. Okay, Monday is over. At least people going to your company's website see something, although it's not very flashy. So let's see what else you could have done. You go in on Tuesday, and you're a system administrator. You have some knowledge, so you think, okay, let's just get a virtual machine, and I can do my own setup. So of course, Compute Engine is the name for the virtual machine offering in Google Cloud. It's basically just a computer that you have access to. You can SSH into it. It has public and private IP addresses. You can set it up with only private IP address as well. But maybe if you want the whole world to reach it, then it's better to have a public IP address. You can also set up a load balancer in front of these virtual machines. And basically that's it. It's what you would expect from a virtual machine, so there is nothing tricky about it, but we will show how to deploy a website on it.
All right, so let's go back to our VS Code editor, close all. Now cloud storage is done. Here, what we are going to do is that maybe we will deploy a slightly dynamic version of what we have done earlier, not the version of what we have done, but we will deploy a WordPress site. So we will spin up a VM, and then while the VM is starting up, we will install the WordPress, the MySQL, DB, Apache, and all those dependencies what the WordPress needs. And we will initiate the deployment, and then I will walk through the files. So again, Terraform, apply. And it's a demo, so I had to pre-install certain things, otherwise it will take a lot of time to deploy it. So everything was deployed, so that's why it's saying that apply complete resource, 0 added, 0 changed, 0 destroyed. Otherwise, what it is basically doing is, if you look at my Terraform file, I'm telling Terraform to, telling the Google Cloud to spin up a VM, which is the name is Øredev demo WordPress with this configuration. And I attach a tag. The reason why I'm showing you this is because later I will show you in the console why this tag is needed. Attach a tag called WordPress-sm. SM is my name, Sijohn Mathew, so that's the reason. And then if you look at the startup script, this is the place where I run all my scripts to get the apt-get and then install the WordPress modules and the MySQL DB. This is not the ideal way for the production case, but we can do it this way as well. And then we spin up a small firewall, and then in the firewall we give it a tag called WordPress-sm. If you look at the above part, in the Compute Engine also we attach this tag, and that's the reason where we say that, okay, 0.0, this means that from all the internet traffic, allow the ingress to this particular machine, and we are not putting a load balancer in this demo in front of this machine. We are just exposing this machine with an external IP. It's dangerous, but we can do more secure way when we do production deployments. So when it deployed, it outputted this WordPress URL with this external IP for this machine. So let's click on that, and let's see, yes, the WordPress is ready. So then it's basically the configuration of the WordPress. But let's go back to the Google Cloud Console and see what has happened in the backend. So basically, it has created a Compute Engine machine or a VM, which is Øredev demo WordPress. And if you look here, it has got an external IP, and it has got a network tag called WordPress-sm. And then I have created a firewall which says that, okay, the target is WordPress-sm tag. Go and allow only the ingress traffic to this particular VM which is having these tags. Let's say tomorrow you're spinning up another VM for load balancing or whatever case, and then you can attach the same tag, so the firewall will allow the traffic to both of these VMs. So that is basically the gist behind that. And then there are quite a lot of other internal details, like it has got always an internal IP as well as an external IP, and when we spin up this VM, we have the option to just remove the external IP so that it is available only to the internal, and then this VM can be exposed through a load balancer for a more secure way of exposing this traffic to the internet. Yep.
Yeah. So, of course, some of the advantages is that you have total freedom because it's just a virtual machine, and you can put anything in the startup script that you want. So you have a complete freedom to do whatever. And it can be cost effective in some cases because you can use the same virtual machine for other things if your website gets low traffic or something. And now the drawbacks of this is that it's of course hard to manage, so you have to do everything. And already you could see that in this demo, the default settings are very prone to being unsecure. So you have to really secure this solution because you get basically an identity attached to the virtual machine by default. And if you mess something up, then bad things can happen to your whole cloud infrastructure. And then we get back to the other drawback that it's hard to manage. To really make it secure, you have to go the way of adding the load balancer and getting rid of the public IP. Yeah, and just a personal opinion, who wants to deploy websites on just a virtual machine when there are so many more solutions that are way more convenient? So it feels a bit outdated to me for this purpose. But okay, at least you got something more dynamic now, a WordPress site, not super exciting, but on Wednesday you hope to achieve something more. And that's why you choose App Engine, which is a fully managed application platform in Google Cloud. It means that you can host monolithic server-side rendered websites. So if you have something written in Flask or Django or any other frameworks, then you can very easily deploy that to Google Cloud. And you have some backend and you have a front end, but you don't have to worry about virtual machines or not even creating containers. It supports Node.js, Java, Ruby, C#, Go, Python, and PHP. So that's App Engine also has two flavors. One is the standard, and the other one is a Flex. The standard is what we're going to show you. That's a bit easier to use. The Flex gives you a bit more flexibility in terms of what you can do with it, but it's also a bit less managed, and there are some scaling drawbacks of the Flex environment.
Cool.
So how do we deploy a website on App Engine?
Sure. Yep. And Matthias, like if you remember, like Google Cloud started with App Engine. This was one of the first offerings. If you look back the history of Google Cloud. Yeah. So let's go to App Engine. So here we are going to deploy not using Terraform. Of course, we can use Terraform here, but I want to show some other deployment options as well. We will use the Google Cloud CLI, which is the command line interface. And the command is gcloud app. App is for the App Engine, and deploy. While it deploys, I will walk you through the files. So here we are deploying a very basic HTML again, but it is dynamic. It will pull the results. If you see, this is my main.python file, which is basically exposed through the Flask. And here we are querying BigQuery for the Stack Overflow public data set. BigQuery is the Google's data warehousing platform. And here we query the Stack Overflow public data set and pulling out the top 10 questions, which is having the maximum view count. And we are displaying this in an HTML file. And this HTML file is like query result.html. And and we are displaying the two columns, basically what was the question and what is the view count. And the gcloud app deploy will take everything based on this app.yaml file. The main requirement is for the App Engine to get deployed is it needs an app.yaml file to define what is the runtime which needs. So this is basically using Python 3.9 version, and it will detect everything from this package and then go and deploy it, and now it got deployed. So the deployed service is now available here, and if you see here, we can actually split the traffic if you have a previous version deployed, etc. I will show you in the console in a moment, but let's look at the application which got deployed right now. So Yes. So this is the live data from the BigQuery public data set and the top questions which got the maximum view counts. And if we look at the App Engine from the Google Cloud Console, like this is the dashboard for the App Engine, and this is the latest version which got deployed. If I refresh this, it just got deployed 9:40, and we can see the logs, monitor everything. And if you see, I have tried multiple versions. Now this is serving the 100% traffic, but if you look here, we can split the traffic. If you say 50% of the traffic only should go to the new version, the rest should go to the old version, etc. It can be easily done. I'm not taking much time, so Matthias, you.
Yep, thank you. So as you can see, there are many benefits. You just issue the command and your dynamically rendered website was deployed. So it's very easy to get started. You don't have to worry about container knowledge. So if you don't know anything about containers, you just want to write an application. And as Sijohn mentioned, this is one of the first products or services that Google Cloud offered. So it has very mature tooling, and the whole service is very mature. Some of the drawbacks is that it's region locked. So when you deploy your application, you have to choose a cloud region. Cloud region is basically just a data center where your code will be running. And in this case, you choose whether it's in US or EU, and you can't change that later. If you want to change, you have to create a whole new project, and it's a bit tricky. And there is also no IAM, so Identity Access Management is the Google Cloud's version of how you treat people and authentication and authorization. And this App Engine doesn't really work with that when people try to access the application. Of course, from a developer perspective, you get all the controls, but from a user perspective, not really. And then again, if you want to add custom binaries and you want to use the flexible version, then the custom environments don't scale down to 0. So if there is no traffic on your website, you will still be paying for some sort of compute. But all right, this was easy enough. You think you're getting somewhere already. You feel good. It's middle of the week, still some days ahead. So let's see what you can do on Thursday. And you just heard about this shiny, fancy new tool, Cloud Run, which is a fully managed container platform. So this is where you would publish your applications if you containerize them first. It's great for front-end, back-end, and the stream and batch processing jobs as well. So it's good for event-driven architecture. It is great for running longer jobs in the background, but also to deploy front-end and back-end applications and your APIs as well. And one of the great things is that it auto-scales dynamically, even down to 0, and then up to, if you have a Black Friday run on your website, then it also scales up very nicely. Yep. How do you deploy something to Cloud Run?
Sure. OK. So this is my personal opinion. This is my personal favorite out of all these, Cloud Run, because we all live in the container world these days. So it's very easy to package this and then deploy it. And just on a technical note, Cloud Run is based on a Knative, which is an extension of Kubernetes serverless workloads. So if you have your on-premise workloads in Knative, it's easy to port into this. Basically, it takes the same Docker file and then, boom, it gets deployed into the Google Cloud Run. If you're a developer and if you have opportunity to work on the Google Cloud, definitely you should try it out. So here we are not going to use, again, Terraform, not gcloud. Rather, I will rely on an extension which is provided by Google itself, which is called the Cloud Code. This extension is available in VS Code as well as in JetBrains. So the application what we are going to deploy here is, let's initiate the deployment first, and then I will walk through the application. So when you go through the Cloud Code, so it will analyze our workspace and list you which all are the applications which are ready for containerization and ready for Cloud Run. So it automatically detected, okay, there is an application called Øredev Run, which is the application which we created for this demo, and to which region it has to deploy, and it will package it as a container and push it into the GCR, which is the Google Container Registry, and some other details which needs. So let's push the deploy button. I know that this is not an ideal way for a production deployment, but for a developer perspective, to start with, this is quite easy. It's like everything you can do it from your IDE, even the logs we can see. So while it is building, I'm sure that you might be expecting in any conference this year, we will be looking for a Gen AI based talk. So here we are deploying a Gen AI based chatbot into Cloud Run. And basically, it is talking to the backend, which is the Vertex AI model available in Google Cloud, which you see in the Bard also, which is the backend. This is the backend for the Bard also, which is called the text bison model we are using. And we are saying this model that, okay, you are a machine learning generative AI expert, and help me with a as an assistant for my salesperson, so to help generate ideas when you go to meet a customer. So this is the application basically we are going to deploy to Cloud Run. And this is my Python file. This is again a Python-based application. And we have the, which is built on Chainlit framework. And Chainlit is an easy to build tool for the chat-based application. And if you look at the Docker file, this is a normal Docker file. And then the Cloud Run will take up this file, and then the entry point we define, just the normal Docker file. So let's see whether the application got deployed. Where is it? Yes, deployment completed. And this will give you a URL, basically a endpoint, and we can place this endpoint behind a load balancer, or directly you can expose it to the public. So this one we didn't give any authentication or anything. So this is the chatbot we have done. So let's see how the chatbot works. Marketing department, IKEA. So help me generate some cool Gen AI use cases. Hopefully it will return. Yes, I'm happy to help. See, these are the use cases what IKEA marketing department can use. So see, it's super easy to deploy a container to Cloud Run.
Yep. So as we mentioned, some of the benefits is that it's very flexible. Anything you can think of that you can containerize, you can push to Cloud Run. It even allows sidecars as of recently. It is very simple, as you can see. It was 2 clicks to deploy something, and it integrates very nicely with your CI/CD tools since it's container-based. It can scale to 0. It has commit use discount, which means that if you tell Google, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using at least this much Cloud Run for the next 1 year, then you get a hefty discount on the price. And also it is the new kid on the block, so it gets a lot of love recently from Google. It is very heavily developed, and the new features are coming out every week. So it's really nice working with Cloud Run. As Sijohn mentioned, it's his personal favorite. Some of the drawbacks, maybe the pricing is a bit harder to understand. It's not super complex, but it's maybe not as straightforward as some other offerings. Then limited resources, so your containers can't have, I think GPUs are not supported right now, and you can't have hundreds of cores and hundreds of gigabytes of RAM. So this is more for very like smaller workloads, maybe microservices. Yeah, and then if you want to add firewalls, you want to have more control in that term, like who and how can access these applications, then you have to use Cloud Armor, which is a separate product. But at least Cloud Run integrates very nicely with Google IAM. So it's great for event-driven applications or also responding to events as well.
Yep. Having said that, if you are from a AWS or Azure world, you might be wondering is it can be compared to Lambda or the Azure function, but in Google Cloud there is another offering called Cloud Functions, which is a predecessor of this one, but Cloud Function is still supported.
Yeah. So with Cloud Functions, you don't have to containerize your application. You just write your code and then
function as a service.
Yeah. All right, then we go on to Friday. Week is almost over. So you choose Firebase Hosting, which is a web app hosting service. It's more for front-end developers. So it handles dynamic and static content as well, and also microservices. But this is more like an umbrella for other things. And if you use some of the features, then it's in the background. It's going to be using these other things that we've been talking about, so Cloud Functions and those kind of things. But Firebase is great if you just have a front end or a mobile application that you want to deploy. So if you work with the really popular JavaScript frameworks or Flutter, then this is an ideal choice for you.
Yep.
So Sijohn will demonstrate.
All right. So let's get to Firebase. So Firebase is a very popular tool among the mobile app developers these days, even for the web app developers. And it is tightly integrated with certain, like for example, they have a backend NoSQL database called Firestore. You might be heard about that. And it can be tightly integrated, and also for making it more backend logics, then basically it can connect back to Google Cloud Functions and stuff like that. So I'm not going to do a build or anything. Here we are going to deploy a simple React-based application, a React web app. And this is a hotel menu card. So I'll have a small dashboard and a login and a menu. So let me build. OK, before that, I just want to show you something like so that, OK, let's change the logo from this one to the Devo team logo for the new one. So it's gonna be deployed. Hopefully it will build fast. So meanwhile, it is building. So I'll show you the console for Firebase. So Firebase is having a this is the hosting console of the Firebase. So the hosted application can be managed through this one, and it will give you a not a custom domain name, but this can be easily mapped from your DNS provider. And the database what I was showing you was
zoom in.
Okay.
Can you zoom in on the web? Can you zoom in?
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought like the browser will do it if I do it once. Yeah. So this is the Firestore database, the NoSQL database. If you have worked in MongoDB or stuff like that, it's similar. It works basically based on collections and then the documents. So this is my menu items and the documents and then the fields. This can be easily wired to your Firebase application, and it offers quite a lot of things bundled, like the offline and the caching, and then even you don't need to bother about listeners. It is inbuilt into the SDK. So meanwhile, the build is ready. So let's go and deploy the app Firebase. Here I'm using the Firebase CLI, which is a subset of the Google Cloud CLI, the gcloud command. So I'm going to deploy it. So it will take the bundle which is built right now, and it's quite fast. Yes. So let's see how the application works. All right. So if you see, this is my dashboard, and I can log in with my credentials. So it gives me a admin page where I can edit my menus and stuff like that. So if you look at this Firebase console, back to this. So this Firebase product suite, it doesn't look like it's in the Google Cloud, but it's a fully integrated product in Google Cloud. But for this mobile app specific development, they have given a separate console, which is console.firebase. But this database can be accessed from the Google Cloud console as well. And here you can actually do, I mean, for your authentication needs, you can add more providers. So sign-in mechanism, it provides a lot of out-of-the-box sign-in mechanisms. Like if you go for the add new provider, you have the Google provider, Facebook, and all kind of stuff for your public web apps. So it's and then if you go to the bill, you have a lot of other functionalities like the push notification. If you want to do the crash analytics on your mobile apps, it can do easily without doing any kind of lot of customization. It's all bundled in the SDK. So if you're a front-end full-stack developer, go for it, try it out.
Yep, so this has these advantages of advanced built-in caching and the syncing with Firebase or Firestore, so the database, and it has great emulation features. So if you want to emulate anything locally, you don't have to deploy to the cloud, so very good for testing as well. And it's purpose-built for these mobile app and front-end application use cases. Now the cons is that you are somewhat vendor logged in with this solution, although not necessarily. I mean, your code should still work with other solutions, and there are open source alternatives to Firestore as well. But maybe this is where you get the most vendor lock-in from all the solutions that we're showing today. And there is no custom runtime. So yeah, if you use the frameworks that are given, great. If not, then you're out of luck. All right. So now you also have a mobile application and the front-end application for your company's website. So as you go into the weekend, you hope to achieve the final conclusion. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without Google Kubernetes engine. So this is a Kubernetes cluster as a service, and it is completely automated, completely managed. It is very scalable. There are lots of good things that can be said, and basically you get whatever you would expect from a Kubernetes cluster and some more. So Sijohn will really quickly show how to.
Yeah, we are running out of time, so I know that. Yep. So okay, GKE. So here we will be deploying an e-commerce application, a full-blown e-commerce application, a mini version of your Amazon.sc or Zalando. So what we are going to do is that we will initiate the deployment. So many things are pre-built, pre-installed, because otherwise it will take more than 10 minutes to deploy all the components. Because if you look at the, architecture before. What we are trying to do is that we are trying to deploy a multi-cluster Kubernetes application where people can access from US, Europe, or anywhere in the world, but it will pick up the closest servers and then it will route to the respective cluster. So we will be deploying clusters in both Europe and US. And while it is deploying, let's see what is the.
Actually, maybe you can go back to the slides because we have the architecture diagram there as well. While it's deploying, we can show this is what it will look like. So your user comes to the load balancer, and then we have multiple clusters, one running in Europe, one running in the US, and then the load balancer will route the traffic to the closest one to the user, so you get optimal user experience. Then we have the front-end microservice and some other back-end microservices to handle all the back-end logic, and we have a Redis database that is hosted in the EU region. And we also have a config cluster that's basically managing these other clusters and these other deployments.
Yeah.
So let's hope that
the deployment is done. There are 9 backend microservices, and I just want to. Oh, I forgot to do auto deploy, but it's okay. So if you look at the Kubernetes manifest, these all are the microservices I have, like the card service, currency service, then we have the front end, then the payment service, recommendation, Redis, etc. And like I mentioned earlier, we have a multi-cluster ingress so that it can take, the ingress traffic is routed into the respective cluster in the respective region, basically. You can actually go ahead and talk about the pros and cons, then the deployment will get over, sorry.
Of course, the pros are whatever you would expect from a Kubernetes cluster. So it is open source. It can support a multi-cloud strategy or a cloud agnostic strategy, and it is highly customizable. So, I mean, if you know Kubernetes, then you know how much you can just achieve with the Kubernetes cluster. The cons are, of course, you need a lot of knowledge. So there are people specializing in this technology for years, and it is not serverless. So you're managing somehow the infrastructure as well. And then, of course, once you use it, you will want to solve everything with it. So I don't know if you encounter this, but people who use Kubernetes want to use Kubernetes for everything. So that's, of course, also a drawback that you get sucked into this Kubernetes world. I don't know, is the deployment done?
Yep. So let's see what is there in the GKE. So there is a load balancer which is pinned up. So if you look at the load balancer, it will have a public global IP address. Sorry. Yeah. And let's see whether it will launch my application. Yes, here you go. This is our shopping cart application. And if you look at this, you can order things. I mean, it's like a full-blown application. You're done, and then recommendation service, a lot of things. And if you look at the bottom, you can see that, am I zoomed in correctly? OK. See, we are accessing this from the Europe. So it's actually, for some reason, it is going to the cluster US. I
do not have your VPN on?
Maybe my let me.
Oh, now it's in Europe.
Yeah, now it's in Europe. It's from the cache, I think. So now let's switch on the VPN from US, and let's see whether it is taking the traffic to the US cluster. Yes. So multi-cluster ingress.
Yep. And then
if you go to this is the console, and there are a lot of things in the console. Like it gives a full-blown Kubernetes details on what all are the services it got deployed, what are the ports running, and this is my configuration for my the traffic from load balancer. It's a nice description. Like I don't know whether it is not to refresh. Otherwise, it will show you the traffic which is flowing from Europe and US. So it's pretty cool to monitor and then find out these details.
Yeah.
Yep.
OK.
All right.
And then, so of course, then you go into Sunday. And on Sunday, we will just deploy a REST API as customary. But we will show you a recap, and we do take questions at the end. So just to recap some of the technologies, we have compute engine, which is highly customizable, but not very managed. And then on the scale, so depending on what you need, you can choose a Kubernetes engine if you want something managed, but really customize it still. And then, of course, Cloud Run, App Engine, very managed, and then Firebase, fully managed services. So yeah. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer anything. And also, if you scan the QR code, you should get to the GitHub to see all the code that we showed today. Thank you very much.
And of course, the presentation also is there in the GitHub.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry to disappoint. Yes, there was a question. We use whatever the customers need. For our website, I don't think it's hosted because Devo team has many other pillars. So we do AWS and Azure consulting and other stuff as well. So our website is more unified. It's not just for the Google business. So it is not hosted.
But for our division, for our intranet, we use Google, of course.
Yes.
We are using the Google Sites, actually. That is totally another solution, which comes from the Google Workspace.
Yeah. Yes?
The certificates, everything, yes.
So Firebase does all that stuff for you.
Yes.
So which other ones would you have to do the certificates also
Even for the Cloud Run, you will get the HTTPS, the certificate auto-generated. But it's quite easy to do the certificate generation from the load balancer if you want to use the Google Managed Certificates.
Yeah. So everywhere where you have the load balancer, that of course needs that extra layer.
Yeah.
But for the Cloud Run and for Firebase, that's out of the box.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.